Let's do it. Another edition of The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. His real name is Cardale Jones. His nickname is Beanie Wells. I'm Dave Holmes. The good news, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, we are all back together. The bad news is the season is over. The season's over. Band's back together, and we got some sad stuff to talk about. Buckeye season ends 24-14 at the hands of the Miami Hurricanes. All right, let's start with just initial reactions of what you thought of that Cotton Bowl.
It was shocking. Shocking and embarrassing because more specifically, when you go back and you look at how we lost the Big Ten championship, it was the exact same way how we lost the Cotton Bowl. Our offensive line struggled. We couldn't convert on third down. We couldn't, as a young quarterback in Julian Sayin, he couldn't be efficient as he was in the earlier part of the year. And then the run game struggled. Our defense showed up all season long. In the biggest moments, our defense played well. I mean, you can't ask for a better performance from the defense. They were spotted. The team was spotted 14 points, and the defense still kept us in that football game. But all across the board, it was an embarrassing performance. And, one that made you certainly scratch your head and made you really wonder, was everybody else right in the country? Was Ohio State fool's gold? Because they certainly looked like it in big moments.
Yeah, so Beanie just produced about 6 podcasts. He brought up three or four huge points. All right, so Cardale, we'll get to a few of those. Let's start though with that point there about, was it an embarrassing loss for you? Was this embarrassing? Because that's a strong word coming out of Beanie Wells' mouth.
Personally, no, I don't think it was embarrassing for me. I think, that day the better team won. You got to get credit to Miami. And stating back, I will say weeks before this game has came out and this matchup was set to play, that I made comments about this Miami team. And I know, it's two sides of being when it comes to the public's eye, right? One, Ohio State diehard, clearly alumni, love Ohio State, want them to win 100-0 every game they played. Then two, the realistic side of things, right? Where we do this thing for a living now is where you got to eliminate bias. I said about this Miami team as they wrapped up their season beating Virginia, I said this was the hottest 4-game stretch of any team in the country. Carson Beck was completing over 80% of his passes. And I said his team is getting healthy. I said if they get into the college football playoffs, no one is going to want to play this team because of the way everything started to click for them at the right time. And I stood on the table against my fellow Marcus Freeman agent here that they should got in the college football playoffs over Notre Dame. And we see why, because of how well they can play up front, how physical it is. I don't think this game was embarrassing at all for Ohio State. Yes, it's a game for a reality gut check a moment for Ohio State and to kind of correct some of the things that, was, I would say, swept under the rug throughout the beginning parts of the season because you didn't play as strong opponents who can consistently challenge you in key positions. But embarrassing, no, I think the better team that day won.
So go ahead, get in, Beanie.
So the thing that I want to break down why it was embarrassing for me is because we watched in the Big Ten title game us have issues, and those same issues came back to hunt us in the biggest of moments. And when you're a team that is as good as Ohio State, when we have the coaches that we have, when we have the players that we have, to not be able to adapt and adjust in a major way and to let those same issues hunt you in the way that they did, to me, that was the part that was embarrassing.
But that's the point, though. Like, and the issues we're talking about, I think more so the physicality of the big guys up front. More so, I would argue on both sides of the ball. Not so much on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, if a team is averaging 3.5 to 4 yards to carry, that will wear on your defense eventually. But on the flip side of the ball, that defensive line really got after our offensive line, and I think we tried to make those adjustments. I think we brought in a new starting right tackle, shifted up to the offensive line a little bit. But that's, it's like saying, "Hey guys, we got 3 weeks to get bigger and stronger in the weight room." I think they were just a little bit more physical and athletic up front on the defensive line than our offensive line.
Yeah, I think what Beanie says is what I'm most disappointed about. We came out of Indiana saying the issue is pass protection and kicking. And boy, did both those show up. Reuben Bain spent more time in the backfield than Bo Jackson. I mean, he was back there all the time. They were in Julian's face. Julian was clearly frazzled. So if you guys want to get super spicy, if we want to get some clicks, let's talk Julian Sayin. Okay, there are some fans out there who are saying he can't start this guy because he can't move in the pocket enough. He was a statue back there. Now, I'm going to pump the brakes on that because the guy was on the Heisman stage in his first year starting. But he was frazzled. So what do you guys make of the fact that he wasn't able to handle the pressure? Not his fault, all of it. I know Cardale's going to say sometimes you're in charge of the protections, but not all of his fault. So what do you make of him?
So I think, honestly, for as good as a coaching staff as we have, and, I love and respect those guys, they did him a disservice when we were talking about, Ohio State and the way that we were operating our offense, how we were saving plays by being so methodical, because you wasn't throwing him in the fire. And that was something that in the earlier part of the year we talked about. Julian needs to push the ball downfield. He needs to run tempo. He needs to be thrown in the fire. You're allowing him to sit back there and these plays to be slowly drawn up. What's that going to do for him? He's not speeding up his processor. As a young quarterback, the most important thing is how you are able to process on the fly. And he wasn't able to learn how to process on the fly. And it showed in those big moments. When you're facing the pressure, how can you get the ball out of your hands quick? There were so many times in this football game where I'm seeing Julian, the offensive line was bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing Julian drift in the pocket to like 7 steps deep. Like, why are you doing this? Why isn't your processor coming on and saying, you know what? I got to get the ball out of my hands super quick. And I got to step up in the pocket and deliver. Those are some of the issues that I most certainly had with Julian and his development, because we didn't allow him to develop the right way because we wanted to save plays and be fresher down the stretch. That didn't work.
Well, I don't think this offensive. I don't think this offense was tested enough throughout the season to see or to have those conversations. Because when I think about thrown into the fire, I'm thinking about things that are thrown at you on the defensive side that's going to force you to do some of those things. Now, if I don't have to speed up my processor, if I can take 3 hitches and then throw the ball downfield to Jeremiah Smith, why wouldn't I do that? Mm-hmm. Right? Or if I can throw it into double coverage to one of my receivers and they continue to go up and make plays. I look at the play that Cardale Tate made in the back of the end zone versus Illinois. And I think it was Wisconsin. And other things that comes up to my mind. If I'm not forced to always play good on good, then I'm at an advantage until it become a disadvantage where those 50-50 balls isn't as, the risk reward isn't there anymore, right? Or, if I take that extra hitch, now I got a guy right in my face and things like that. So when I think about thrown into the fire, I think about that comes with the level of competition you play. And just unfortunately for Ohio State, the best competition they play all year came at the end of the season. And we talk about the Indiana Big Ten championship game. And we try to, with CBS, we try to break down where do Indiana or Ohio State have the edge. And I gave almost everything to Ohio State. But the key parts, the offensive line and the quarterback, I gave to Indiana because they were more battle tested in those situations. Up until that point, Julian Sayin, the whole offensive line outside of the Texas game, and really pretty much all the starters haven't played a significant snap in the fourth quarter. So when you talk about playing another top-ranked team in the country, it's going to be a 4-quarter game. And it's like, who do you go with? Do you go with the team and the players that been in that situation multiple times throughout the season, or a guy or a team that still has a question mark? How are they going to respond if they're in a heavyweight bout during the fourth quarter?
Well, they will be battle-tested next year. We'll talk about this more throughout the offseason, but we're talking road games against USC, Texas, Iowa, Indiana. They get Oregon at home, I believe.
Oregon and Michigan
at home.
Yeah.
Real next year.
Woo! It's going to be real next year. Okay, let's talk about Jaden Fielding. And I'm not here to dunk on him. Career over at Ohio State. Didn't end the way he wanted to these last couple of games. But Mr. NIL, is this wild? Explain to me how this works. Like, are we paying kickers NIL? Like, what do we got to do to get a guy in here that can kick a football?
You know what? I think when you talk about the transfer portal, you talk about recruits, you talk about just guys been on a team and a retention. Everybody is getting something. Now, what that number is, who knows, right? I mean, I know, but who knows?
Please share with the class if you know.
So the emphasis on certain positions, are just like in any sport, particularly professional sport, the demand is going to be a lot different from certain positions, right? I don't think the number one factor of any NIL budget and any football program around the country is going to be spent on kickers and punters or special team players. But clearly you have to make that investment. And I think that investment just don't come from the NIL side of things. I reflect on, and I had a great conversation with Chris O'Shaughnessy yesterday at the Ohio State basketball game about his son, Michael, his time at Ohio State, and how a lot of the good kickers around the country, they have specific kicking coaches that they work with in the off season that helps translate their workouts and their training to their to the programs that they're at, like Ohio State, to help them stay on that routine. And Mike's situation when he was at Ohio State, he was like, no way I should have been squatting and lifting with the linebackers and doing these things that everyone else is doing. We're doing a team building things, but this is not specifically for my job. So I think the emphasis and the investment needs to come on having a dialed in specialist, coach, trainer, whatever you want to call it, to continue to work their craft, because they, as Beanie know, they're very limited in practice anyway. And probably, they're probably out there with practice with us for 2 hours and probably really only getting maybe, at best 20 minutes of real work.
Okay, so that was the political answer, Beanie. I'm going to talk to you now because you're going to be real with me on this. That was the NIL response. Bottom line, I watched a guy from Ole Miss make kicks from the student section.
Oh my God! And they would have been good from 70 yards.
I just saw Cam Little of the Jaguars make a 67-yard outdoor field goal.
Well,
you're telling me that there's not one kid on campus. There's not one kid in the great state of Ohio who can just make a 45 to 50-yard kick consistently.
It's crazy how you see, and we talk about the Ole Miss kicker. Okay, he's an outlier right now.
All right.
Because you look at Miami kicker, it was horrible. But it's crazy to see how, I wouldn't say bad, but inconsistent and very probably below average the bulk of the college kickers are, versus how good these guys is in the NFL. Like, where do they find these guys at?
Yeah.
Where do they find these at? Like
Brandon Aubrey. I mean,
exactly,
just good from 65 like it's nothing.
Exactly, but a 45, 50-yard field goal is like routine.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, go out there, field goal team.
These guys are like 92% in the NFL now and like that 45 to 50 range. It's insane.
It's unbelievable. Then, but us in college, and not just at Ohio State, but a lot of places, a lot of top universities holding their breath for a 30-yarder. Like, you just like, oh, he made it. You know what I'm saying?
Let's tell him how to spend his money. Whatever they got in the kicker budget, dial it up like 10%.
You better up it, because you have to know how important it is. Just talk about this for a second. We go back, was it 22 when we were in Georgia?
It's the Peach Bowl.
Oh, geez, don't bring up
that. Would have been we would have won a national. That game was the national championship.
It was.
I will go to my grave saying that they should have been more aggressive on offense and try to get another first down there.
100% agree.
I don't think you settle for that long kick, but keep going.
But nonetheless, that kick decided the factor of we were going to win a national championship or not, essentially, in my opinion. And we missed a kick. We don't win a national championship. And now you talk about all these other big moments. Last year in the Michigan game, what happens? We miss a kick.
Yeah.
In critical moments, you're a school like Ohio State, right? At some point in time, I know and understand you try to be loyal to the guys. You see guys working. You want to commend them. You want to show that, okay, we're sticking with you. But at some point in time, when somebody shows you who they are,
you believe
you have to believe them, even a little bit. I know people change. Things happen. I can be a better husband. Things happen. But I can grow. But something in the back of your mind has to say, well, what if he doesn't?
Yeah.
What if he doesn't?
What if he's the same guy he's always
been?
Yeah,
what if he's the same raggedy husband that showed himself to you at some point in time, and he was good for maybe, 2 months?
No pun intended, but the kicker is this. The situations, these guys aren't put in consistent pressure situations to make a game winning or game tying or go ahead field goal. So we can spend as much money we want on the right guys, because we had some hot takes before the show about the quarterback position and other positions where we spent those type of big dollars at, and we not getting the results we want, and particularly one offensive lineman that we shall not mention name. But it's crazy how you can spend those monies, but at the end of the day, you never know how a player is going to perform in that pressure situation. I don't care if we're not 28-6 and you hitting the field goal and all this other stuff. Like, I'm talking about the situations we've seen, and not just at the field goal at the kicker position, but all around the board.
Yeah. Well, speaking of spending money, Beanie, have you seen how good AI is? I saw some picture online claiming that Cardale bet like $3,000 some on the money line. And I said, thank God this is AI, right? That pick was AI, right? You didn't actually lose 3 G's on this money line, did you?
No, I did not. I lost 3,400.
Okay, all right, 3,400.
So the real kicker is, I'm not going to mention names, but apparently Cardale said this to somebody else, and somebody who's not as well off as Cardale.
Yeah,
said, I'm taking his advice.
Few are.
I'm going to go ahead and spend this money. And now that person is out and said they're done gambling for the rest of their life. This was a legitimate text message that I got. A legit text message. I'm gonna go back and show you guys at the break. It's crazy. Man.
It's like 3 a.m, phone buzzes. Cardale's like, I got a guaranteed winner. And this guy's like itching. He's like, you do.
Whoever that person is, who we shall not name.
Okay.
I am so sorry I lost you some money because I lost too, and I guarantee a lot of people lost on the money line for Ohio State, and it just was a heartbreaker. Now, I wasn't going to take no fool's gold and get tricked by taking the cover and the spread and all that stuff. But damn.
Yeah, the home foreclosures went up in Columbus because Cardinals. So I want to ask you guys about Jeremiah Smith. He balled out. 7 catches, 157 yards, and a touchdown. After the game, man, the clickbait was raging after the game. So he's there basically hugging, dapping up everyone on Miami's team. He knows a lot of the guys, South Florida kid. And I saw all these articles, and the headline was like, Jeremiah was out there so long, an Ohio State assistant had to whisk him off the field. Now, I was on the field, and I watched the video, and I'm like, this video is no different than every game.
Guess what? The other one.
Jeremiah Smith got whisked off the field with the Illabuck trophy in Illinois because he was taking pictures with it and celebrating. So what did you guys make of this? Because I was down on the field as it was happening. I didn't notice it. I watched the video afterwards. I was like, well, yeah, but this is kind of what every single game is. NBA guys go at each other for 48 minutes and then, almost make out after the game. They're all boys after the game. So what did you guys make of this clickbait?
You ever see Tom Brady or Peyton Manning after a game? Like when you're the best player and you're an all-time great, everybody's going to want to come up to you and say something, act like they know you. Yeah. And it just happened to be versus the University of Miami, a place in which Jeremiah Smith is from. Yeah. Like all of these guys want an opportunity to shake hands with greatness. I just saw something the other night. I mean, Ja Morant was on the sideline. LeBron's getting ready to inbound the ball, and Ja Morant rubs LeBron's jersey and rubs it on himself. Like everybody wants that special sauce. You want to say you touch greatness, and maybe that greatness happens to rub off on you. But I don't read into it at all.
That's what it is. It's clickbait. And I guarantee that clickbait was stirred up by the reporters and the coverages of the people who cover the Hurricanes. And I get it. You want to continue to rub it in a little bit on Ohio State. And, I saw something like, oh, he wish he was here. Not at all. Yeah. Like, I don't think so at all because, one, like I said, he's from there. He knows a lot of those guys. He played against a lot of guys. He played with some of those guys and JoJo Trader and things like that. And guarantee he probably still go back home and train with a lot of those guys. On top of like what Beanie said, man, everybody want to come up to you. It's not like he was out there searching for guys. As he's walking to the locker room, guys are stopping him. And then when they talk about the staffer is getting those guys into the locker room because, the coach is getting ready to address his team. So why wouldn't I want all of my guys in the locker room? People, oh, yeah, they trying to keep them away from those guys. No, we have a process. We have a routine. Yeah. And win, lose, or draw, our routine is our routine. So Beanie knows after the game, win, lose, or draw, the coach is going to say something to you guys. You got media afterwards. You got to shower up and get on the. It's the clock starts right when the game is over for your post game routine.
Yeah,
so,
and watching the video, I was expecting Jeremiah Smith to do like a Lambo leap into the student section of Miami,
exactly.
and he's running off the field, and another Miami guy runs up, taps him on the shoulder. Hey, what's up, man? He keeps running off the field. Another Miami guy comes up, taps. I was like,
covering his mouth. Hey, man, I really wish I was here.
Yeah, exactly.
God, man, exactly. He's like, hey, man, good game. Oh, yeah, good game. Oh, good game, man. Like,
it was very standard postgame. Okay, so last thing, and then we'll go to a break here. I just want to say, guys, that this was the best Ohio State season I could ever imagine. This was perfect. I wouldn't change one thing because they beat Michigan.
Yeah.
And I heard some fans out there like Beanie Wells tell me that as long as you beat Michigan last year, quote, I'd rather beat Michigan than win a national championship. I heard this all year from people like Beanie Wells.
Yeah, this is amazing. This was an
incredible year.
This season was a huge success. They beat Michigan and lost the last 2 games.
Hey, all I gotta say, it's crazy how things change. You get spoiled at times, and I was one of those people that got spoiled. You know what? We won a national championship. That was great, but we didn't beat Michigan. I had to have something to complain about.
Yeah.
Well, we beat Michigan, and it doesn't feel any better.
Yes.
Losing in the fashion that we did. So now my mindset has changed a little bit.
So, and I cannot wait for this. And now I did think we was going to go back to back, and clearly we're beating Michigan this year. I was like, man, I'm going to have to wait until another year to say if we don't win a national championship, how do you feel, fan base? But like I said before, if you think beating Michigan outweighs winning a national title, you are you need to get checked out. Like,
you got to do both in the same season. You felt both.
Yeah, for sure. And I also felt beating Michigan and losing the national title and didn't give two craps about, everything outside of just losing that game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think this goes back to our argument, Dave. Winning the national title outweighs everything. I mean, think about it. I mean, losing to Michigan, then the guy winning the national title arguably got him this extension and potentially saved his job. Now, people losing to Michigan and now winning versus Michigan and then losing to the college football playoffs. Think about the conversation that's happening already.
Mm-hmm.
So
now I'll say this: if you just say which loss felt worse, losing in the Cotton Bowl or 13-10 last year at the Shoe, it's not even close.
Right.
The despair after Michigan is a different level of despair. So I think in a vacuum, Michigan means 100 times more than a Cotton Bowl does. I get that, no doubt. I'm old school in that mindset. But the postseason feeling all year last year felt like a party for the next 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to feel like that this time. It's a lot of questions.
Like legit, the sky is falling, people. The sky is indeed falling. I mean, we're going to get into it in the show, but everything that's going on right now, especially because I really thought that we were about to be on this trajectory to where we saw Georgia be a couple of years ago, to where they were doing back-to-back national championships. They were in it. And obviously, I'm not saying that that's over, but most certainly when you have the game in which we just had, the issues that we had in those games, the questions are going to come. And now, obviously, we're talking about a little bit more. The portal's happening and guys are leaving, and it makes you question what's going on.
I think the biggest thing before we get into break is the way we lost. And I think, I will argue it was because of the physicality up front, not being able to do much up front on the offensive side of the ball, protect the quarterback, and having a consistent run game to make those things right. That's not an off-season thing. That's not a one-year thing, right? That is something that needs to happen over a period of time where those things don't come up and bite you in the butt again.
Interesting stuff. Well, it's time now for Dr. Wells and Dr. Jones to diagnose how we're going to fix this. Coming up next on The Script, off-season is here sooner than we hope, but we're going to fix this roster. Stay with us. College football not feeling as juicy as it once did. Well, let me put you onto something that'll shake up your Saturday and every other day of the week. Because now that Wendy's has crispy chicken tendies and a powerhouse lineup of new sauces, it's time you transfer to the hottest team in the league.
That's right. Team Tendies. Wendy's Tendies, they're making their undeniable rookie season one for the books. Enjoy first-string flavor from some 5-star recruits. Rep your new favorite team everywhere you go, but make sure you cheer with your mouth closed.
Take it to the end zone of savory sauces like honey barbecue, creamy ranch, and that new Wendy's signature sauce to experience a total taste bud blitz of flavor. It's time to join the team that won't upset you with an upset.
Taste the phenom that's gracing the gridiron with its juicy, crispy, and tendery tendencies. Don't fumble the bag. Commit to Team Tendies and call the most delicious plays in the playbook. All right, huddle up. Tendies on 3. Tendies on 3. 1, 2, 3, Tendies. Let's do this. Wendy's Chicken Tendies now at participating U.S. Wendy's.
For Buckeyes and businesses, Branded Bills has you covered. Whether you're showing your scarlet and gray pride or you're building a brand of your own, nothing tops a custom hat.
Branded Bills is a proud sponsor of Ohio State athletics with licensed Buckeye headgear that looks just as good in the horseshoe as it does when you're walking around Columbus. And beyond game day, they specialize in custom headwear that helps businesses, teams, and communities stand out with premium fit, finish, and style.
So whether you are a diehard Buckeye, an entrepreneur, or just someone who want to rep their story, check out Branded Bills. Explore their official licensed Ohio State collection or design your own custom hat built just for you. Branded Bills for Buckeyes and businesses, licensed pride, custom style.
Welcome back to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hit us up at The Script OSU on all social. Hopefully you're subscribed by now on YouTube. Hit us up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. Time now for our Buckeye Basement Solution, guys. We pick something and we diagnose the problem. Pretty easy to find the problem this week. We got to diagnose this roster. How do we fix it in the offseason? So where would you spend your NIL dollars? Now, you and I will talk hypothetically. He's going to talk very, very real. It's going to be more real for that guy on the end. So, Beanie, if you had kind of like a pie chart here, where do you want to divvy up your NIL cash this year?
So I'm looking at, what position group will have the biggest impact. And especially, after coming off of the year in which we just had, which obviously was a solid year, but in the biggest of moments, we struggled majorly at a certain position group, it would be the offensive line. And, I would dive in on the offensive line first and foremost. Although I do believe we have some players on our roster that could help us, and I think will help us moving forward, i.e. Jake Cook, a guy that I coached in high school. But nonetheless, I had to throw that out there. I would most certainly spend whatever it took to go get the best offensive lineman out there. And I know it's hard to evaluate at times because you also want to know who guys go against. So you want to get guys from bigger universities. And a lot of times, if those guys are already at Power 4 schools and important schools, impactful, they're not going to want to leave. So it's going to be a tough process, but I'm scouring the earth for guys that can move people and move the earth, because that is the one thing that held us back this football season. If we have a consistent offensive line, and again, I'm not down in the players that we have, but if we have guys that play consistently up to their potential, we're winning the national championship. It's not even a question in my mind, and I believe anybody else's mind. So that's what I'm doing first and foremost. And then I'm going to get other players, i.e. at other positions, maybe if we even have starters. I'm not opposed to going and spending on another quarterback.
Here we go.
I'm not opposed to it. And I know people are going to sit here and say, I'm crazy, and it's nothing against Julian, right? But what happened in the biggest of moments, obviously that leaves a question mark. He's young, so you anticipate him being better. But heck, we're in a situation now where we're got to treat this thing like it's the National Football League, because it's win or go home. We want to win at all costs. So I'm going and seeing if I can evaluate a quarterback out there that can make me better. Why wouldn't I attack it? Why wouldn't I spend the dollars if I'm Ohio State to be better at a position?
Ooh, okay. Okay. So, Cardale, I'll tee you up on that because that's spicy. That's a spicy take.
That's a pumpkin spice.
It is. That's a pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice, a lot of things he said. Yeah. All right. So you got Julian Sayin. All right. He was on the Heisman stage as a freshman. You look at Ryan Day's track record with second-year QBs is really good. When he got that second year of Stroud and he got a second year of Justin Fields, he cooks in year 2 with the same quarterback. Now, you know what it's like. People, I've heard people this week say, Tavion St. Clair, he's bigger, he would have moved more, we needed more agility back there. You know that people love the backup quarterback. Our guy got rich. He's rich off the fact that people love the guy who's waiting in the wings, and he came in and showed up. Are you okay with that spicy take that you're willing to at least flirt with something besides Julian Sayin?
Well,
I am not, for the record. I am not. I just want that on the record.
I think what Ryan Day has came out and said in the very beginning of time of the transfer portal era is that his goal is not to continue to go in the portal for a quarterback, and he want to develop guys, because ultimately that will tarnish your recruitment of the quarterback position if every year you're going to go out there and looking for the next best thing, right? So outside of even in the portal, he wasn't a big thing for guys being one and done, either in a position they're being in and clearly being draft eligible. So I am against that take, because then you risk the thought of 1 year with a veteran quarterback and losing 2 guys. Julian, potentially, if this was a scenario, and St. Clair, a young and up-and-coming guy who continues to develop in the weeds and waiting on his time to really show us what he has. And hopefully that time, if you bring in a transfer portal quarterback, that you would never see what St. Clair has, because clearly that's going to bump him probably potentially down on the depth chart, where it's going to be harder for him to get on the field. So I'm against that. But when you talk about the offensive line, and Beanie made a good point, I don't think it's and Nick Saban said this years ago about a recruit, and no, a reporter asked Nick Saban in an interview about, what do he think about Oregon's all the different combination of uniforms that they have.
Yeah.
And he said he's more worried about the players in those uniforms. So outside of the dollars that we're spending, I'm more worried about the dollars we spend on the right players, right? I'm not just throwing all this money to anyone. So I think you do need to beef up the offensive line here in the portal. But I am excited for guys like Jake Cook and Luke Montgomery coming into himself as well. And then other guys that's returning within this system. But you got to add depth there and some bulk at that position. And then clearly one position that we talked about earlier in the show, I think the special teams positions, right? You got to add in, the kicking game was such a weapon for us, especially the punting game when changing the field position. But you got to put yourself in position where when you crossing the 40, maybe the 35-yard mark, you're feeling comfortable with a 42 to maybe a 47-yard field goal if it came to that situation.
Okay, so you and I agree on this, that we're good with Julian Sayin. Beanie says he's willing to at least flirt and keep his eyes open.
I'm okay with Julian Sayin.
I'm tripping. It's easy to talk about that as we lost the game and we kind of highlight, we lost it up front. But holy shit, I almost forgot. We're losing 4 or 5 first rounders on defense.
Okay.
So we got to beef up that safety position at that general, and then you got to go get some linebackers as well.
And I was going to defend Beanie in this point, right? So Beanie's not anti-saying. He's just saying if something's out there, he's willing to look at other opportunities to bring a challenger or something in there. The last time they did it, they won the national title, and they brought Will Howard in. When they bring in Caleb Downs 2 years ago, they brought in Quinshawn Judkins 2 years ago. They were pretty portal heavy guys. So go ahead, get in there.
That's the number one position. If I'm talking about going and getting somebody, the number one position I'm spending on right now, and it's going to sound crazy because I've been a huge Bo advocate and love him. I'm finding another marquee running back.
You want a second piece?
Yeah.
That's what got us out.
We
had a bad offensive line last year.
Yeah.
What helped us? Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins. Those guys were so dynamic. And when you have a back that can hit the home run, that can make people miss, that can break tackles, that helps your offensive line just as much as anything. And it helped us tremendously last year.
Travion needed a smaller hole and he was gone. And if you didn't block for Quinshawn, he could drag a guy a couple of yards. They kind of corrected some of the deficiencies in a way.
Yeah, and then another thing that I think that I would say hid some of the struggles maybe up front that we had last year is definitely Will Howard being a +1 in the run game and 2 and being mobile. So once, now if guys collapse in the pocket or you don't feel like it's a lost cause, you always have that thought that he can get out of some trouble. And, he was a scrambler who kept his eyes downfield, but it can also pick up, the much needed yards as well. So it's deeper than just 1 or 2 pieces because like I said, I think the biggest holes going to the season, even though, we didn't look our greatest up front, will be on the defensive side of the ball. It's no way you can just replace, or don't have an emphasis on replacing 4 or 5 potential first-round draft picks on the defense side of the ball. So
gotta wait and see on Matt Patricia too. He posted something on Instagram, basically said, "Thanks for the great season." Buckeye fans melted down. He didn't say he was leaving.
Yeah,
but I'm not in the business of interpreting Instagram.
He's on subliminal messages.
I didn't go to 4 years of journalism school to interpret Instagram posts, so we're not going to dive too much into that. But this debate here, guys, do you prefer recruiting and developing or portal? Because if we look at the 4 teams in it, Indiana, Miami, some of these teams are going to aggressive at getting 20-year-olds and not 16-year-olds. So where do you guys come down now on the idea of developing your own or going out and just bringing in new guys?
It's so hard. It's so tough. Because I'm a huge proponent for high school football. And I love these athletes getting the opportunity to go live out their dreams and play at these universities, get scholarships, and so on and so forth. But it's so hard to ask an 18-year-old kid to be ready to go day one to help you win a national championship. Are there guys out there? Yes. They're few and far between of Caleb Downs out there
Jeremiah Smith.
And Jeremiah Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, there's more of the Fernando Mendozas out there than the Jeremiah Smiths and those type of guys.
Or then another outlier, Malachi Tony, who's supposed to be a senior in high school, right? Can you imagine?
Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine
what he would be
wrapping up Algebra 1 on a Friday and getting ready to go against him?
Yeah.
Coach, I don't know. Yeah, I know I wasn't here to play school, but I may fail that test. I may go to tutoring that night that we playing now. But sorry, go ahead, Beanie.
No, but it's tough. It's hard. Because on one hand, you want to be able to say you have homegrown guys that you develop, that you made better. And I think it's still always going to be, you have to have a mix of those. But I'm a huge proponent of going into the portal and going to get guys that can help you win right now, because that's the way that the world is shifting of college football. You have to get ready-made guys. Look, you can go get guys from Division II and smaller programs, and they're going to be less of a liability than a high school. One, they know what it's going to be like being a college kid, to balance being away from home, balance the responsibilities of being an athlete. But then 2, their bodies are ready.
Their bodies are ready. They're fucking grown.
Yep, they're grown.
Yeah, and Cardale, you're managing purse strings, and you got to think about, would you rather buy a stock now or see the exact price of it in 2 years? And then say, now I can jump in. That's what the portal is I know where this stock is going from 18 to 20 years old.
Exactly. And to counter that analogy is that simple fact of, if I buy that stock now, it sucks because that stock can magically disappear.
Yes,
in 2 years.
it can leave me.
Right, it can leave you in 2 years. The bank can seize that. Right? The government can seize that stock.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not keeping that stock happy. So that's the balancing act. Me personally, if I was a head coach, I'm recruiting a certain type of guy. I'm probably going to stay away from the bigger name guys. I'm probably going to spend most of my time, effort, and energy in the portal. I'm going to go get those 2 to 3, well, not 2, but 3-star guys on the cusp of a 4-star guy. I'm not looking to get all the time those 5-star guys because if they don't come in and play right away, I just wasted a scholarship and money on them in a year, maybe 2 years, and they're gone. Right now, I think it's 3 or 4 Ohio State top 5 signees from 2 years ago are in the portal. Yeah. These guys are in the wings developing. Hopefully that's what we're thinking, but it's so many different things out there where they're like, oh, well, I can potentially be a starter over here. Maybe not even a starter over here. I can go do the same thing over there, compete and be a part of a rotation. But because they are down on players or something like that, I can go get more money over there.
Let's talk about
why
one of
would
those.
I do that?
You got a 5-star Mylan Graham. So Mylan Graham, wide receiver in the transfer portal. He was supposed to be, the next big thing when he came in, and he still might be. It's just not going to be in Columbus. Jeremiah Smith went out on social, 5 with a broken heart emoji. Cardale Tate expressed disappointment as well. These guys are sad to see Mylan Graham go. I get it though, Cardale. I mean, we talked about this earlier this week off camera, and you said what? There's one football.
Yeah, it's one football. Unfortunately, it's one football. Mylan Graham was a guy I was extremely high on as well, but I think, in my opinion, I think he is a true outside receiver. And you got a guy like Chris Henry Jr. coming in. Quincy Porter is another guy that, they loved and raved about all year with Mylan. And, those 3 guys are true outside guys. I don't look at those guys like a Brandon Ennis who can play outside and then be engaging and play inside and do a lot of things. So it's one football at the end of the day. Where's most of those targets are going to go? Clearly to Jeremiah Smith. And then you're competing with another top-ranked guy who they almost had a heart attack because they thought they was going to lose. So he may not feel like, his opportunities is here, and in some cases it's not, but he can go be that. I mean, J-Mo is a prime example.
Yeah, right.
J-Mo is a prime example of that, where being in the room with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigma. I'm not saying I ain't want to compete, but it's one football. I'm going to go somewhere where I can be the star right now. And it worked out for guys. Yeah. But here's the kicker about the portal when guys transfer. It's over. It's almost 10,000 players in the portal right now.
It's
nuts. Not 10,000 homes out there for you.
Right.
And then when you look at the portal situations, the portal success is not high when these guys are leaving. So that's another thing that's not talked about or studied. The success of a portal player is not high at all, especially because I can bring up the DJ Ungamalayas of the world. And this is no knock on these guys, but you see a story like Fernando Mendoza. You see a story like Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray, but you didn't see the other 99 players in that same portal class window who just clearly made the wrong mistake. So it doesn't always work out in your favor. And clearly, I hope it works out for everybody, but you need to really make sure it's the right decision.
In general, quite often, you're single for a reason. Quite often. Now, a lot of these guys are looking for, but quite often, you're looking for opportunity because you didn't claim the one that was in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Not always. Jamison Williams, like you said, Mendoza, there are guys who've made it work.
Yeah, it's certain.
But quite often, there are guys who I couldn't beat out the 6 guys in front of me in my position group. I'm going to the portal.
So how much is an underrated discussion in which we have the portal of these guys being pushed out of universities?
That too.
Because they're not good enough, and we're not going to sit here and waste any dollars. So we're going to say, hey, we're going to push you out the door, nudge you towards, maybe making this transfer for us because your services is no longer needed here.
Yeah, that too. And then that's where the situations where, I look at a lot of these guys in this portal situation and, I love South Florida for CJ Hicks. I love that move for him. A guy who was considered, I would say, a tweener because they tried to play defensive end this past year and undersized for that position. And I think, going into his 5th year of college football and playing in, I think, an American Conference, I think he will have the flexibility to figure it out, linebacker, defense, and rush type of things versus that level of competition. Clearly, the talent is there, but finding this right fit and position is another thing that we don't talk about with these athletes and things like that. And then you got guys who probably need to continue to go down a level it's not a talent thing, but you need to go get the reps.
Right.
You need to go get the reps and experience before we need to see if you can really play at a higher level. So it's a lot of moving parts to the portal. Good luck to everybody in the portal, not just Ohio State players, and hopefully everybody find a home.
Yeah, we diagnosed a lot there. If your damp or wet basement needs a quality solution by a local company, it is time to call Buckeye Basement Solutions. They are the pros when it comes to waterproofing, foundation repair, and creating dry, healthy spaces you can actually use. Give them a call, 614-956-4592 or BuckeyeBasementSolutions.com. Coming up next year, we'll take your listener questions and also talk about the latest saga with Lane Kiffin. Stick around. Welcome back to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hit us up at The Script OSU on all social media handles. Time now for our Dr. Pepper look around the world of college football. Guys, Lane Kiffin is long gone at this point. He left to go try to win a national championship while his old team continues to try to win a national championship. What's going on here? Because now he's taken 4 more assistants with him. He's like plucking the coaching staff as they keep advancing through the bracket.
You know what this is right here? This is a quintessential situation to where you're dating a girl and, you guys break up and you say, I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy. Go get your happiness. You don't really want her to be happy. You want to be the pinnacle of her success. Yes. You want her to be the happiest when she was with you. And after you want her to fail at every single relationship that she ever has because you want her to compare it to you. And you want her to come back crawling, scratching, clawing, saying, I want you back, baby. Can we please get back together? This is what that situation is because now Lane Kiffin sees Ole Miss being successful. He watched them go out and play a crazy game versus Georgia, come out on the other side unscathed. And what does he do? My coaches, I need you guys to come back. I need you guys to walk back in.
He's like, no one's rooting for Ole Miss harder than I am. Like, you got a funny way of going about it.
Exactly.
Because you've done everything but stole the Gatorade out of their locker room at this point. Like, come on.
This is man, I hate your situation for those players. I hate it for the university because it's so unfair. And then if I'm a coach, he trying to pluck me later, and I get it, money's involved clearly. But at the end of the day, I'm like, dude, screw you. Why you ain't been offering me that job? Don't wait to keep. You could have took me when you took the offensive coordinator and these guys, and now you're like, oh, you can't find your other guys. Now you want me? Nah, get out of here. I still think it's a mistake for him going to LSU or versus staying over Ole Miss because the expectations are different, especially when I'm in the midst of competing and fighting for a national championship. Because you win one at Ole Miss, dude, they put a statue out there for you the next day. You know what I'm saying? So I think the expectation, the standards are a little bit lower at Ole Miss for Lane Kiffin than LSU for him. And I just still can't believe he left a team that was getting ready to fight for a national championship.
Okay, I'm not going to ask you who you think is going to win. I'm actually curious, who do you want to win in these 2 semifinal games? Who are you actually rooting for? Indiana, Oregon, Ole Miss, Miami.
Just because of the storylines, and obviously I think these 2 are really great teams, but they've done something we've never seen before. Indiana, what they've been able to do has been nothing short of amazing. I mean, Kirk Cincinnati took a program that was in the ashes and brought him back to life and made them a relevant program. So I want to see Indiana win. And then I want to see Ole Miss. Ole Miss has always been not really a bottom feeder, but just an average team in the conference. They've been a team that has gotten good players, but they've never been good enough to get over the hump, good enough to be in a national title game. And then coupled with everything that transpired with Lane Kiffin, I want to see this storyline. That's going to be the biggest headline going into the national championship if those 2 teams make it. What Kirk Cincinnati has been able to do, then the Lane Kiffin saga and him leaving a team that's getting ready to fight for it all.
You know what's funny? When you look at this Indiana team, and I would say they on a pretty good trajectory of being really good for our foreseeable future, at least for the next Cincinnati lifespan in that contract. And let's say we fast forward to 10 years and, they win a national title and every year they're competing in the college football playoffs, maybe 3 or 4 more Big Ten championships under their belt, under Cincinnati reign. And I'm telling, my kids at this point, guys, Indiana is the most losing football program of all time. And they were like, what are you talking about? No way. Since I've been alive, they've been national championship, 4 Big Ten titles, blah, 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 blah. So the transformation, as what Beanie said, has been magical. So I would love to see Indiana pull out and beat Oregon, even though I can see Oregon winning this game as well. It's hard to beat a team twice. And then on the flip side as well, man, that can go any way with Miami or Ole Miss. I do like the Ole Miss because of everything that's transpired with Lane Kiffin, but I wouldn't mind seeing Miami in there. Miami, like, as a team, both teams, ironically, were my dark horses to win a national title beginning of the season.
Check the tape back in August.
Ole Miss and
Check
Miami.
the tape. You said
so
it.
all the crazy Miami fans, like I said, you guys get the Ohio State Cardale. Ohio State till I die on social media. This is where you get the real me.
Yeah, you got to listen to long form context.
Yes, you got to. This is where you get the real me. I can see Miami winning it all. I can see Miami winning it all, and strictly because of how physical they play.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's finish up here with a couple.
Oh
my goodness. People, have you guys seen the billboards? It's your faces on it. People don't care. Okay, so I would take Indiana. I want Indiana to win. I just think it's such a good story, and I have no emotional investment in the Oregon Ducks whatsoever. So I want to see Indiana Signetti for the story. I go back and forth on this other one because part of me, I grew up on the U. I grew up like that was. I kind of want to see the rise to prominence. I love how fired up the fan base is, but I really want to just shove it down Lane Kiffin's throat about what he did here. So I guess I'd rather see Indiana Ole Miss because I think that's just a wild storyline game. Yeah. It'd be a bad game for head coaches' leverage if a team goes basically wins a natty with a ship that's steering itself.
For sure,
that would be wild.
Yeah, that's the funny part about it. And like when you look at these these 4 teams left, it's hard to give Ole Miss the edge. That's why they have the least odds to win it all because I think. Every team is built very similar. Physicality can play on both sides of the ball, but the edges I'm giving to the other 3 teams over Ole Miss right now is they got the head coach and their complete staff, right? Mario Cristobal has done a great job of staying out of his way and showing his head where you have those blunders like when he was in Oregon or like Miami a few years ago, the Georgia Tech situation, and even last year. And then Dan Lanning and Kirsten come on. These guys are cut from the same cloth. Great coaches. So you know that's going to be a bloodbath here Friday. But I'd love to see Indiana win it.
Okay.
Look, all of these guys, baby. All 4 of these guys are from the Nick Saban coaching tree.
It's wild.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
It's wild. No, it's really wild.
Nick Saban Bowl.
Right.
We asked you, the listeners here, for some questions to submit for the show. We got a bunch of them. I'm going to go 2 today we have time for. First one, guys, we had several people ask about an offensive coordinator hire. Do you have a lean, a hunch, a person you like? For me, I have 2 names that interest me. Brian Daboll. Now, we'll see because now there's some rumors he might go to the Raiders. But Brian Daboll, I like the mold of the Matt Patricia and the Chip Kelly mold. I like this mold of guys who maybe failed at the head coaching level, but are really good at their craft, and they bring that credibility. So for me, it's Brian Daboll. The other name I would keep an eye on that would make me excited would be Todd Monken. We're going to see what happens with Baltimore. They just missed the playoffs. Do they clean house with John Harbaugh? If he opens up as the OC, I think he's a smart mind who kind of fits that mold of a guy who could come back here, rehab for a year or 2, and then go find his next gig.
Yeah, no, I like that right there. The question that I do have is when you go get NFL guys, they probably have so many people under their staff right now. These NFL guys don't mind coming to college like they once did because they don't have to deal with as much recruiting.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a plus. But a guy that I really would go back and get is I would go call Chip Kelly. I know he went to Northwestern, but we watched you have the ultimate success here. Come back. Let's do it right again.
Yeah, we once saw Bill O'Brien be the OC here for about a week and a half, so it is possible.
I like the Ravens guy as well, but my kicker is this: how is he going to fare with not running the quarterback as much in that type of system? But my biggest question is, and I don't know who would be the right fit in this situation, but my biggest question is, why didn't Chip Kelly? Did he get a call? I think that's the biggest blunder for me on this offensive coordinator search because he was out. And Hartline was out long enough for that path and those conversations to happen. Mm-hmm. What happened?
That was my biggest question. Thing. Like, that's your mentor. That's Ryan Day's mentor. Clearly, they have history. Was it just like, hey, it's too embarrassing. We don't want you to come back. I want a new challenge. Was there? I don't know. That to me was odd too. One more question today. Jerry from Columbus wants to know, why do you guys think this team looked so unprepared in the final 2 games?
That's the biggest question mark that we all have. I'd like to think that obviously, Ryan Day went into this game and thought that those guys were prepared. I just think maybe the moment was a little bit too big for him.
Mm-hmm. I want to say unprepared. I think they just missed out on opportunities. Ryan Day even said it himself. This team, beat themselves. And I think when you talk about beating yourself is to miss opportunities. I don't think you can just magically in the 2 weeks prepare for the physicality that you're not used to playing with, that you're going to get ready to face from a team like Indiana or Miami. I think it was just missed opportunities to exploit some of the things. Like, one of the sacks, Julian had Max Clare stricken right down the middle of the field before, I think, of the missed field goal, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know another one where Julian had threw the ball away, probably wasn't thinking that, hey, the first down was probably in 2-3 yards in front of me, no one is there. So some of those type of things, I think, missed opportunities versus unpreparedness.
Yeah, so, exactly, because sometimes you're also just not good enough. And I mean, man to man, that offensive line against that defensive line, there was just a talent gap, I think, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the talent and the physicality definitely outweighed us when it came to their D-line versus offensive line.
But as bad as we played in that game, I still think Ohio State lost the game more than we were beat. If we don't throw that interception, it's a completely different game.
I agree.
And if Julian, like you said, hits Max Clare, there's a situation where Cardale Tate's wide open running on the field. All of those situations happen.
Yeah,
we win the football game.
Or maybe we fall on one of the fumbles that bounce right back into Malachi Tony's hands.
We lost the game.
It's a few things that you can point to, and honestly, when that freaking ball bounced back to his fucking hands, I said, "Oh, we lost."
Yeah.
It's like everything's going their way at that point.
It was. Well, we have a long off season to talk about it now, sadly. So we got more to talk about next week. Thanks for joining us. Hit us up at TheScriptOSU on social. We'll see you back here next Wednesday.